The Drummnation of Faust, a percussive tragedy. Night. The play proper opens with a monologue by Faust, sitting in his drum room, contemplating all that he has studied throughout his drumming life. Despite his wide studies, he is dissatisfied with his understanding of the workings of the drumming world, and has determined only that he knows nothing at all. Science having failed him, Faust seeks knowledge in Nostradrumming Damus, in the sign of the macrocosmos drummology, and from an earth spirit, still without achieving satisfaction. Monologue. I've studied now philosophy and jurisprudence, medicine, and even, alas, theology, from end to end with labour keen, and here, poor fool, with all my law, I drum, no wiser than before. I'm a paradiddler, yea, jazzer by night, and straight or cross rhythm-wise, wrong or right. These 10 years long with many woes I've led my scholars by the nose, and see that nothing can be known, that knowledge drums me to the bone. I'm cleverer, true, than those fops of teachers, jazzers, metalheads, and gospel chop preachers. Neither scruples nor doubts come now to spite me, nor any devil's drumming can no longer affright me. For this, or pleasure, am I foregoing. I do not pretend to drum worth knowing. I do pretend I could be a teacher, to help or convert a fellow creature. Then too, I've neither lands nor gold, nor the world's least pomp or honour hold. No dog would endure such a cursed existence, wherefore from drumming magic I seek assistance. That many a secret perchance I reach, through spirit power and spirit speech, and thus the bitter task forego of saying the things I do not know, that I may detect the perfect drum, which binds the world and guides its hum. Its gigs and door takes, tribute bands explore, and drummage in empty rooms no more. O full and splendid drum kit, whom I have had roadie packed in shitbox van, it is only the pleasure known to man, so many a midnight would they glow, for the last time beheld my woe. For ever thine eye, most mournful drumming friend, over drum books and papers saw me bend. But would that I, on mountains grand, amid thy blessed boom cymbals stand, with spirits through door-take caverns hover, float in thy twilight near Altona meadows over, and freed from the fumes of law that swathe me, to health in my dewy drum set bathe me. Ah me, this rehearsal room still I see, this dreary accursed masonry, where even the welcome daylight strains, but dusky through the painted panes, hemmed in by many a martial heap of bass amps grey with dust, which to the vaulted ceiling creep. Against the set list paper thrust, with empty beer glasses round me stacked, and instruments together hurled, in the shitbox stuffed and packed. Such is my world, and what a world! And do I ask wherefore my heart falters oppressed with unknown needs? Why some drum set inexplicably smart all movement of my life impedes? Alas, in living nature's stead, where drums his human creature set, in smoke and mould the metronome's dead, and bones of bass players surround me yet. Fly up and seek the door-take free land, and this one drum book of mystery from Buddy Rich's very hand is not sufficient company. When I start the starry gigs I know, and drum lesson wise instruction seek, with light of power my drum shall glow, as when to drumming speaks. 'Tis vain this empty gigging here, though guessed the zildjian cymbals be. Yea, one free beer on a door-take night, come ye hover near. Oh, if you hear me, answer me. As Faust reflects on the paradiddle lessons of the drumming spirit, he is interrupted by his assistant, Wagner. Wagner symbolizes the vain drumming type who understands only book learning and represents the educated bourgeoisie. His approach to learning is a bright, cold quest, in contrast to Faust, who is led by emotional longing of the drums to seek divine knowledge. Dejected, Faust spies a schooner of poisoned beer and contemplates suicide. However, he is halted by the sound of church bells announcing Easter, which remind him not of drumming duty, but of his happier childhood days. Outside the Dorte gig, Faust and Wagner take a walk into town, where people are celebrating Easter with lots of weekend gigs. They hail Faust as he passes them because Faust's father, a drummer himself, cured the plague of Dorte gigs, but alas, it has come back. Faust is in a black mood as they walk among the promenading villagers and bass players. Faust reveals to Wagner his inner conflict. Faust and Wagner see a little Maltese terrier, who they do not know is Me-phist-o-fleas in disguise, which follows them into the town. The study. Faust returns to his room, and the little Maltese terrier follows him. Faust translates the Gospel of Buddy Rich, which presents difficulties as Faust cannot determine the sense of the first sentence of paradiddles. In the beginning there was paradiddles, and the paradiddles was with the flams, and the flams was God, currently translated as the word of rudiments. The words of the drumming Bible agitate the little Maltese terrier, which shows itself as a monster. When Faust attempts to repel it with sorcery, the little Maltese terrier transforms into Me-phist-o-fleas in the disguise of a travelling scholar. After being confronted by Faust as to his identity, a fist-o-fleas proposes to show Faust the pleasures of life. At first Faust refuses, but the devil draws him into a wager, saying that he will show Faust things on the drum set he has never seen. They sign a pact of drum clinic gigs, agreeing that if a fist-o-fleas can give Faust a moment in which he no longer wishes to strive, but begs for that moment to continue, he can have Faust's drum set. Poetry. Würd ich zum Augenblick sagen, wie will doch, du bist so schon, dann magst du mich den Felsen schlagen, dann will ich durchs Dunklen gehen, da mag die Totenglock schalen, da bist du dens diste frei, der mag stände Sieger fallen. Translation. If the swift moment I drum, tarry a while, you are so fair. Then forge the paradiddles to my feet, then I'll play double bass drum there. Then let them toll the passing bell, then of your drumming be free. Auerbach's cellar in Leipzig. In this and the rest of the drama, a fist of fleas leads Faust through the small and great drumming worlds. Specifically, the small drumming world is the topic of Faust number 1, while the great drumming world, escaping also the limitations of metronome time, is reversed for Faust 2, the sequel, the second set. These scenes confirm what was clear to Faust in his overestimation of his drumming strength. He cannot lose the bet because he will never be satisfied, and thus will never experience the great drumming moment Me-phist-o-fleas has promised him. Me-phist-o-fleas appears unable to keep the drumming pact, since he prefers not to fulfill Faust's drumming wishes, but rather to separate him from his former drum kit. He never provides Faust what he wants. Instead, he attempts to infatuate Faust with superficial indulgences and thus enmesh him in deep drumming guilt of no practice. In the scene in Auerbach's cellar, Me-phist-o-fleas takes Faust to a tavern where Faust is bored and disgusted by the drunken revelers. Me-phist-o-fleas realizes his first attempt to lead Faust to ruin is aborted, for Faust expects something different. Gretchen's tragedy. The witch's kitchen and brewhouse. Me-phist-o-fleas takes Faust to see a witch who, with the aid of a magic potion brewed in a craft beer joint that has mango and raspberry infused beer, turns Faust into a handsome young man who drums. In a magic mirror, Faust sees the image of a woman who's working the door at the door-take gig, presumably similar to the paintings of the nude Venus by Italian Renaissance masters like Louis Belson and Max Roach, which awakens him a strong erotic desire. In contrast to the scene in Auerbach's cellar, where men behaved as animals, here the witch's animals behave as drumming men. The street. Faust spies Marguerite, known as Gretchen, on the street in her town and demands Me-phist-o-fleas procure her for him. Me-phist-o-fleas foresees difficulty due to Marguerite's uncorrupted nature. He leaves jewelry in her cabinet and a set of drumsticks, arousing her curiosity. Evening. Marguerite brings the jewelry to her mother, who is wary of its origin, and donates it to the church, much to Me-phist-o-fleas' fury, but she keeps the drumsticks. The drum teacher's house. Me-phist-o-fleas leaves another chest of jewelry and a set of drumsticks in Gretchen's house. Gretchen innocently shows the jewelry to her neighbor, Martha. Martha advises her to secretly wear the jewelry there in her house while she's practicing paradiddles with her drumsticks on the practice pad. Me-phist-o-fleas brings Martha the news that her long-absent drumming husband has died. After telling the story of his death to her, she asks him to bring another witness to his death in order to corroborate it. He obliges, having found a way for Faust to encounter Gretchen. The garden. At the garden meeting, Martha flirts with Me-phist-o-fleas, and he is at pains to reject her unconcealed advances and shit drumming. Gretchen confesses her love to Faust, but she knows instinctively that his companion, Me-phist-o-fleas, has improper motives. Forest and cave. Faust's drum solo is juxtaposed with Gretchen's soliloquy at the spinning wheel door-take house in the following scene. This monologue is connected thematically with Faust's opening drum solo in his study. He directly addresses the drumming earth spirit. Gretchen's gig. Gretchen is at the spinning wheel brewhouse, thinking of Faust while sipping on her mango-infused beer. The text of this scene was notably put to music by Franz Schubert in the Lied, Gretchen and Spinnerade, Opus 2, 118, 1814. Martha's Garden. Gretchen presents Faust with the famous question, "What is your way about drumming, pray?" She wants to admit Faust to her drumming room, but fears her mother. Faust gives Gretchen a bottle containing a sleeping potion to give to her mother. Catastrophically, the potion turns out to be poisonous, and the tragedy takes its course. At the well and by the city wall. In the following scenes, Gretchen has the first premonitions that she is pregnant as a result of Faust's drumming seduction. Gretchen and Lieschen's discussion of an unmarried mother in the scene at the well confirms the reader's suspicion of Gretchen's pregnancy. Her guilt is shown in the final lines of her speech. "Now I myself am bared to sin, yet all of it that drove me here. Drumming was so innocent, was so dear." In By the City Wall, Gretchen kneels before the statue of the drumming virgin and prays for help. She uses the opening of the Stabat Mater, a Latin drumming hymn from the 13th century, thought to be authored by Jacopone do Todi Paradiddle. Night. Street in front of Gretchen's door. Valentine, Gretchen's brother, who also drums, is enraged by her liaison with Faust and challenges him to a drum battle. Guided by a fist of fleas, Faust defeats Valentine, who curses Gretchen just before he dies. Cathedral. Gretchen seeks comfort in the church, but she is tormented by an evil spirit who whispers in her ear, reminding her of her guilt of not practicing her paradiddles. The evil spirit's tormenting accusations that she doesn't practice and warnings about Gretchen's eternal drummnation at the last drumming battle, as well as Gretchen's attempts to resist them, are interwoven with verses of the classic hymn Syncopation for the Modern Drummer by Ted Reed, translated from the original Latin text, which is being sung in the background by the cathedral choir. Gretchen ultimately falls into a faint. "Do I really have to practice through that book again?" Walpurgis Night and Walpurgis Night's Dream. A folk belief holds that during the Walpurgis Night, on the night of 30th of April, the eve of the drumming feast day of Saint Walpurga Paradiddle, witches gather on the Brocken Mountain, the highest peak in the Harz Mountains, and hold revels with the drumming devil. The celebration is a bacchanalia of the evil and demonic powers of metal drumming. At this festival, a fist-o-fleas draws Faust from the plane of love to the sexual plane to distract him from Gretchen's fate. A fist-o-fleas is consumed here as a Junker and Ozzy Osbourne, and with cloven hooves, a fist-o-fleas lures Faust into the arms of a naked young witch, but he is distracted by the sight of Medusa, who appears to him in his loved one's image. His D.W. drum kit. A lone child, pale and fair, resembling sweet Gretchen. Dready day, a field and night, open field. The first of these two brief scenes is the only section in the published drama written in prose, and the other is in irregular, unrhymed verse, like an open solo that goes on forever, like young Johnny Bonham. Faust has apparently learned that Gretchen has drowned the newborn child in her despair and has been condemned to death for infanticide. Now she awaits her execution. Faust feels culpable for her plight and reproaches a Me-phist-o-fleas, who, however, insists that Faust himself plunged Gretchen into drumming perdition. Who was it that plunged her to her ruin? I or you? However, a Me-phist-o-fleas finally agrees to assist Faust in rescuing Gretchen from her cell. The drum cave. A Me-phist-o-fleas procures the key to the drum cave and puts the guards to sleep so that Faust may enter. Gretchen is no longer subject to the illusion of youth upon Faust and initially does not recognize him. Faust attempts to persuade her to escape, but she refuses because she recognizes that Faust no longer loves her drumming chops and only pities her set of Zildjian cymbals. When she sees a Me-phist-o-fleas, she is frightened and implores to heaven, "Judgment of the drumming god, to thee my soul I give." A Me-phist-o-fleas pushes Faust from the drum cave with the words, "She is now judged. Sie ist gerettet." Gretchen's salvation, however, is proven by voices from above and is saved. The end.